Hello, everyone. We are just going to wait a few more minutes, a couple more minutes for everybody to join. So stay tuned. All right. Well, we will go ahead and kick things off. I know that more people will join along the way. Mad props to those of you who are actually early. I know that you probably did the same thing I do, where if I'm worried that I'm going to miss something, I'll log in a little bit early so I don't lose track of time and then I'm late. So appreciate all of you who are here today, period. So it's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and some new ones and some of our newest members here today. So for those of you, I think I know a lot of you, but for those of you who don't know me, I'm Carrie Hodgen. I'm the Director of Community Development here at Tourism Cares, based also at a Mile High, along with Peggy, but we are in different states, as we discovered earlier in the chat. So I am based here in Denver. So really thrilled to have you all here today. I am your membership contact for Tourism Cares, but we also have a number of our team members on here as well. So definitely thrilled to have all of you here today. So for those of you who have joined one of our member opportunities before, welcome back. And if this is the first one that you've done with us, we're really glad you're here. These town halls are really intended to be a chance for us to come together as a community to connect with each other and to talk to each other. And so today I'll start with some updates on Tourism Care's latest programs, partnerships, impact, and what's ahead for our community. We'll celebrate some recent successes, highlight some progress that's being made across our network, and also take a look at upcoming opportunities for members to engage, learn, and take action. And then following the Tourism Cares updates, we'll turn the spotlight to one of our members for a special conversation exploring the role of purpose-driven business in the travel industry. So before we jump in, just a few quick housekeeping items. Please feel free to use the chat throughout the session. Tell us where you're coming from. But we also really want this to feel like a conversation. So if something sparks a thought or if you have a question, drop it in the chat. No need to wait until the end. If you're not presenting, please keep your camera off and stay muted while we're talking. Closed captioning is available at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And as always, this is being recorded. And we'll post the recording in the Member Resource Hub afterwards, so you can share it with colleagues who couldn't join us today or if you want to revisit it. So with that, let's get into it. So we often start here because this is, I think, one of the things that makes Tourism Cares really special. When we talk about our membership community, we're not just talking about one segment of the travel industry. We're really talking about the entire ecosystem. So destinations make up about a third of our membership, and tour operators make up another 21%. We have suppliers and accommodations, professional services, associations, nonprofits, travel agencies, and networks. So this is really everybody in the travel industry. And that's important because meaningful travel doesn't happen in a silo. A destination can't do the work that we do by itself. An operator can't do it by itself. A hotel or supplier can't do it by itself. It really takes everybody in this community. So I think that's one of the most valuable things about this community. You get perspectives here that you simply don't get if you're sitting only in your own sector. And here is a snapshot of the community of travel and tourism companies supporting us. It's just a small sample, but it's pretty representative. Tourism Cares is supported by more than 170 members, companies large and small, representing the breadth of the travel and tourism industry. And speaking of our community, let's welcome some new faces, some of whom are actually on this call. So we have some great new members joining us, including Visit Durango, Visit Tucson, GTT Global, and Visit Maine. And yes, Neff is here from Tucson. So really happy to have all these four on board. So welcome. So if you see someone here today who you don't know, this is your excuse to reach out. And if you're one of those new members, welcome. We're super happy that you're here. One of the things that we hear from our members is sometimes the hardest part isn't finding the information, it's about finding the right people. And these are your people. So that's really what we want this community to be. A place where you can find people who are wrestling with the same questions, solving similar problems, and doing something you want to learn from. So don't just think of the membership directory as a list of companies. Think of it as a network of people you can actually call. And as we're talking about our community, we just want to take a minute to celebrate a few members who are hitting some pretty impressive milestones. So NTA, the National Tour Association, is celebrating 75 years. Avanti Destinations celebrating 45 years this year. And Academic Travel Abroad is also celebrating with NTA their 75th anniversary. So good company for those two organizations. 75 years, really super impressive. That's a lot of history in an industry that has changed pretty dramatically over that time. So congratulations to all three, and thank you for being part of the Tourism Cares community. And if you want to celebrate an anniversary with Tourism Cares, just let us know. We are happy to celebrate with you. And while we're talking about community, let's take a quick look at the Meaningful Travel Map. I know you're all familiar with this, but I think it's always fun to see how it's growing. If you haven't visited it recently, this is what it looks like today. So you can see how much the network has grown, and more importantly, the range of organizations represented across destinations and regions. We just added our first impact partner in Australia, which somehow isn't on this screenshot, so we're going to have to expand our map. So remember, but the Meaningful Travel Map is a tool for you no matter where you sit in this industry. If you're building an itinerary, developing product, looking for local partners, trying to find community-based experience, or simply trying to understand what meaningful travel looks like in a particular destination, you can start here. And one thing about the map is that it gives us a way to move from talking about meaningful travel to actually doing something. And that's really the theme behind what we've been doing this year, turning the conversation into action. So let's look at Asheville. We were there for our Meaningful Travel Summit in April. And there really is some action to celebrate. So rather than just saying we had a great summit, it was tons of fun, we all love Asheville, which is true, we wanted to look at what actually happened because of it. In 3 days, we invested $40,000 into the local community. We introduced 17 Asheville businesses to the travel trade. We delivered 8 hours of sustainable tourism education. We added 14 new impact partners to the Meaningful Travel Map. And those numbers matter because they're tangible. They're evidence that bringing the industry together can create something that lasts beyond the event itself. And that's really the model that we're trying to build with these experiences, not just inspiration for 3 days, but connections and actions that continue after everyone goes home. And then we did something similar in Fort Lauderdale. We took that same approach to our meaningful travel experience at IPW. It was only a half day, but we got a lot done in that half a day. We brought 50 IPW attendees together to experience the destination through the lens of meaningful travel. And instead of just talking about sustainability, we put people directly in front of organizations doing the work: marine conservation, arts and culture, and community impact. Because sometimes the most powerful way to understand what meaningful travel looks like is to actually live it. We want to give you examples through these programs that you can take home and use, extrapolate to your own destination, extrapolate to the day-to-day work that you do, whether that's an idea for your destination, a new supplier relationship, or a story to tell your travelers, or simply a different way of thinking about your own work. So let's look at what's going on in travel because it's ever changing, right? So obviously, we had a lot of events this summer, these mega events that we saw happening. The World Cup really brought together the unifying value of travel. We saw all of these great experiences, whether it was Scotland or Norway, and hosts integrating communities into value chains. America 250 talked about how we can celebrate and remember our history and tell the stories of those voices that are often ignored or quieted. The Route 66 Centennial, we're revisiting the Great American Road Trip. And then we've got our trends that we see every summer, right? And we always study. So regional travel is booming in the States, but over tourism continues to influence traveler decisions about where they go and when they go. Authenticity and local economic impact continue to be key drivers. And then DMO is really focusing on meaningful marketing. We're so thrilled to see a number of our destination members integrate meaningful travel into their own programming. So I want to call out our member Visit St. Pete Clearwater. They really started the trend with us in the last few months with embedding their meaningful travel map into a new landing page, which features a number of their map impact partners. And then they followed it up with a video series visiting those partners. Discover Martin decided that landing page looked really good, and they did it too. So remember that if you're a DMO building your map, you can always use your map to feature your impact partners as part of what you're already doing. It doesn't need to stand alone. And then finally, impact. Sustainability is no longer just a conversation topic, but a thoughtful approach to how we measure impact. I know that that's a lot of conversations. We've seen that come up more and more in industry sessions and industry events, really talking about how you can measure the impact and talk about it. So we see tour operators and destinations now thinking about how to evaluate the actions that they've taken, and we couldn't be more thrilled to see this really becoming much more mainstream. So what does it mean for us over the next few months? So we've got a lot of stuff happening. You'll see us at CITA this week, Brand USA Travel Week Europe in the fall, NTA Travel Exchange later this year, and the USTOA Annual Conference and Marketplace. So those are just a few of the places that you will see us. And if you will be there, let us know, because these are opportunities for us to connect with you. We've also got a DMO open house coming up in October and a sustainability and tech webinar coming up in November. So there will be more to come on these. Stay tuned. A lot of that will be in our member newsletter that is coming out in the next few weeks. So, and always, if there's something that you're wrestling with, what you think we should be talking about within the industry, let us know. We know the best programming usually starts with a member saying, hey, are you seeing this too? So if there's something that you want us to talk about, give us a shout, because we are always here to hear about it. And then also around the corner is maybe something that you will consider getting in on. We'd love your help in our annual online auction. Some of you have probably gotten emails from me already. Our biggest fundraiser of the year, and the only thing that puts us directly in front of the consumer audience. We're looking for travel packages, unique experiences, partner built packages, really anything that can make an interesting auction item. So we're happy to brainstorm with you. Any ideas? If you're thinking, I don't know what I could donate, I am here for it. I love to brainstorm new creative packages because really it's just a lot of fun and I get to hear what you all are working on. So you'll get also a lot of exposure through charity buzz, promotion through our networks and industry partners, and visibility during our fall travels. And then most importantly, your donation helps fund programs that support tourism communities and the future of our industry. So if something comes to mind while you're looking at this slide, please talk to us. We'd love to have you participate. And then also on the horizon for you, a little bit further into the future than our year-end webinars and trade shows, into 2027, we hope you'll mark your calendars for this one, because we want to be your conflict. We want to be the reason that you tell other people that you can't come to their thing because you're coming to our thing. So our next North American Meaningful Travel Summit will be in Detroit, Michigan, next September. So block it now. The dates are up there. And our events are like no other industry events. I know some of y'all were in Asheville, so this is the next installment. You'll learn about the community we're visiting, spending time learning what makes Detroit unique, rather than sitting in another beige hotel room hearing industry leaders talk at you. You'll still hear those leaders, but they'll be local stakeholders and people who can speak to what truly impacts the people and the communities that we're visiting. So join us in Detroit in 2027. And now I'd like to turn the floor over to one of our members. At Tourism Cares, we're fortunate to work with a good number of purpose-driven organizations, and many of them have taken deliberate steps to codify those values into their business. One of those is Wanderwell. Founded in 2015, Wanderwell combines comprehensive travel insurance with a commitment to supporting social and environmental impact. Aaron Fish is a co-founder of Wanderwell and a veteran insurance leader with more than 20 years of experience in the industry. He has helped build Wanderwell around the belief that insurance can be a force for good and that protecting travelers and supporting the places they visit can go hand in hand. So I'm going to turn it over to Aaron for a few minutes, and then we'll come back with some time for Q&A so you can all think through how to infuse your values into your day-to-day job. So Aaron, take it away.
Thank you so much, Carrie. And it's good to see everyone, lots of familiar faces and names. And I'm honored to be a Tourism Cares member. Wanderwell's a Tourism Cares member. We've been involved since 2022. That summit in Victoria was sort of transformational. It had a big impact on us. And thanks for having us here, or me here, on behalf of Wanderwell. Um, I am curious to know, and I know that there's just by being a Tourism Cares member, all of us, that there's a lot of alignment, values alignment. And this is something that we think about often because it's a never-ending topic within us or as an organization to think of how we can kind of not only just say this is what our values are, but then how can we be held accountable to that? So I'm curious to know also, is this who else is struggling with this question? Like, we hear our values. How can we hold ourselves accountable to it? How can we broadcast to others that we have done some work to show that this is accountable and that we're acting on? Even read it in the chat if you have anything to scream out. You can go to the next slide, and I'll give you a little bit of what we do. So we've been around, as Carrie said, since 2015. We started as an agency. So just imagine the keyword people talk about with Main Street, almost like a Main Street agency that was focusing on travel insurance. And so we would represent other companies. We'd represent insurance producers. And then over the years, we got large enough to become a provider and a producer of branding ourselves and offer our own plans through reliable carriers. But something happened right before we started this business, which kind of it motivated us, it inspired us. And that was on a Southwest Airlines flight. So we had this idea to start Wanderwell, and on this Southwest Airlines flight, they remember when there used to be magazines in the back of the seat that was in front of you. So we're reading this magazine, and there was this article. I remember, I think Mindy Kaling was on the cover, and there was an article about certified B Corps. And we immediately thought to ourselves, when we launch Wanderwell, let's do this. This is going to hold us accountable. So we launched Wanderwell, and then we didn't realize that you can't just become a B Corp, which is actually one of the great things about it. We then decided to go through the process of the assessment, and a year and a half later, we were not only a 1% for the planet business, but also a certified B Corp. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. But that really helped set us on a course to become this values-driven and purpose-driven business. What do we do? We're a travel insurance protection provider, producer. We offer very robust, modern travel insurance plans from the customer's lens out. We just believe that we are travelers ourselves, we're customers, so we want to provide the coverage that we would want. And so, generally speaking, you will see in our industry that there are three plans that you'll get, or sometimes more, from a producer, and they're what's known as good, better, and best. And we offer what we call best in class plans. And then we work within that scope. That's part of our values is let's work within that scope and be able to customize plans according to that. Part of our one of our main goals is to expand access to reliable coverage to as many people as possible. So when we're working with companies who have a lot of clients, a lot of guests, we want to help them find ways to expand access to as many of those guests as possible, not only in rate or plan cost, but also in how they can uh, transact, how they can actually purchase it, and then also how we can advocate for those customers in the case of pre-trip or post-trip questions, and then uh, claims advocacy. And then through that, we offer a Wonderwell partner program. So this is how our main line of distribution. Um, and this is where we work with travel planners, uh, booking platforms, travel agents, travel agencies, and retreat planners and more to offer so you can offer reliable travel insurance protection through a values aligned partner and earn meaningful revenue. And really, what we found is that it simplifies workflows for your teams. We focus internally. So give you a little bit of inside baseball here on our ABC, which is to provide access and advocacy and to be agile ourselves. We need to be compassionate, curious, and consistent. So when we meet as a team on any cases, we're always asking, okay, where do we start? We lead with compassion. We always lead with curiosity, and then let's be consistent in our responses. And it's been led to a lot of success. So, how do we hold ourselves accountable to all of our values? Well, we just believe in general that when we travel, we have an impact, no matter what, no matter how we get to where we're going, what we do when we're there. And our travelers do. And we don't necessarily want to tell other people what to do. We just want to be an example for how we behave as a business. So, the ways that we do that is we hold ourselves accountable through a certified B corporation. We have been since 2017. Um, and that is an ever evolving certification that actually kind of gets more difficult as things go on, which is we believe a good thing. But this is think of it as, and I'll take any questions on it later. Think of it as if you're getting certified, let's say, as a farm for an organic product. Um, but in this case, this is a third part, just like that. It's a third party recognition certification that shows that and keeps us on track with being responsible and impactful and helps us actually codify how we're going to do that. Also, based in Oregon. Oregon is a state. I believe there are 39 states that have opportunities for businesses to be registered benefit corporations as an entity, and we have been for many years. And then on top of that, we're a 1% for the Planet business partner. We commit to donating at least 1% of our revenue to environmental partners of 1% for the planet and the Planet Impact Fund. And we have a lot of improvement to make. And so I'll get into that in just a moment. You can go to the next slide. So the last part of this is that part of holding ourselves accountable is constantly or consistently evaluating what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we can get better. And so this is sort of what we look to is how do we continue to maximize access to protection or insurance? How do we help you or travel planners and our partners, our affiliate partners, to optimize revenue and workflows? And how do we grow internally by enriching our team, our employees, or even our consultants, and any stakeholders in our org? How do we expand coverage to travel professionals? This is something we're working on now. So not just to your guests, but actually to the travel professionals yourselves. How to be reliable and approachable and not feel like this what people refer to as, often we all do refer to as an insurance company as, oh no, they're working against us. Well, how are we working for you? How can we show you that we're working for you and that we're working to help you get proper coverage and then to have a claim approved? And then probably the hardest lift, and this is where I'll leave off, is how we can help to raise the bar for the travel insurance industry. I think I had a typo in that, for the travel insurance industry and the travel industry actually. So this is tough because a lot of insurance companies are then have reinsurance and they're managing wealth and investing in sometimes uh, industries that are kind of going against what our values are. So then how do we maintain those relationships and actually help in some way infect the host to show them that if we can shift some of those or even most of those investments towards responsible investments, then it can help our the risks that we're actually guarding against. That's a lot, but thank you.
No, thank you, Aaron. I think that what's so interesting is that if you think about it, that every sector has kind of a different approach to living their values. So even though you're talking about kind of travel insurance, right? The framework and the model remains the same. It's identifying those values and applying them to your business model. So um, I want to turn it over to questions, but I'm curious. So anybody think about their questions, drop it in the chat. But also, just to start up out, how do you evaluate business decisions through the lens of your values, especially where there's competing priorities like cost, time, or growth? How do you always make sure that your values are infused into those decisions?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's something that is worthy of discussion at any time the new decision comes up. One of them is a screening process, and so in some ways, for some, we sort of have like an SOP in a way. So if we're taking on a new vendor, and let's say that some companies are coming to us saying, "Oh, we can help you. We can do this for you. We can do this for you." We look through a priorities in a way list. So the first thing is, do we have values alignment? I mean, number one, imagine this: if a company comes to us and to be in partnership, first of all, it's a good sign. It means that they're valuing what we value, even if they haven't codified it yet. They're valuing what we value, and oftentimes they'll ask questions just like you're asking. Hey, how did you guys go about doing this? We really like that you're a B Corp, or we really love that you're a Tourism Cares member also. That's fantastic. There's that foundation. So we look for a values alignment first. Sometimes we will find that there isn't that foundational level. So then we'll dig a little deeper and ask, where do you find us being aligned? Because we find that not in an environmental sustainability way, but in a business or relationship or partnership sustainability aspect, where can we form a solid foundation and trust and line of communication to know that we'll always be evolving together or that we'll be evolving together for as long as possible. So in general, we have a screening process, and then some things kind of weigh out more than others. Um, there have been some cases where we've had to say no, and sometimes it's easy to say no because we found another partner. And we very rarely had to say we don't want to shame anyone. We just have our own screening process. But I'll say internally, or like within this conversation, we've definitely had to say no to some or weed some out because they didn't meet the criteria in our screening process.
Mhm.
When it comes to costs, that's a big one because some of these things can have heavy costs. B Corp certification can actually have pretty steep costs, not only for the certification itself, but going through the assessment is difficult to do if you don't have It's difficult anyway, but it requires, in my opinion, to have help. And that help can be someone internal that you assign or delegate that to, maybe give someone the lead within our own organization, or to hire an impact consultant. Both of those have costs. And weighing those costs is really good to do in your monthly or quarterly or yearly burn and projections.
Hmm.
The last part is legal costs. So there are legal implications. And what I mean more is about from like a registration entity standpoint. So we take those into account too. What changes would we have to make this year? How many hours does that cost with our attorneys? Compliance and then drafting, new documents.
Right. So out of curiosity, if somebody on the call here is like, yeah, we could never afford to become a B Corp. That's not going to ever be helpful to us. What would
Mhm.
you say about still using the framework, or is it worth at least looking into something, even if you're not going to get to that final certification acceptance,
Mm. So this is regarding B Corp specifically.
or any
Yeah.
certification, really, honestly?
Yeah. Well, I guess when it comes to we are specifically a certified B Corp. I will say the B Corp is the assessment is managed by an organization called B Lab. There's B Lab North America, which is the U.S. Canada, it's U.S. and Canada. Maybe Mexico's involved in that. Mexico might be what's considered Sistema B, which is their version of it. But also there's local, I would say cohorts or what I call advocacy groups, like B locals. But if we stick with B Corp specifically and the assessment, what I think is the most valuable part of the assessment or B Corp in general, there's two things. Number one is the framework that the assessment provides. Even if you don't become a certified B Corp, the assessment, or I believe what they call the short assessment or quick assessment, is free. So you can always use it. And you can, it's a really solid framework to use to kind of give yourself best practices as a company.
Hmm.
And the second thing is, and then if you want to go on and go forward with it, you can. But there are costs. There's not only financial costs, but time and energy, and it's worth looking into. The second thing is these B locals or regional cohorts and advocacy groups. We're in Portland, Oregon. Oregon and Southwest Washington has this group called, it used to be called B Local PDX. It's a very vibrant community, very engaged. And what I love about this one is they're all separate. They're unaffiliated with B Lab. And so they don't have to be exclusive to certified B Corps or wannabes, as we say, companies that are looking to become B Corps. Um, so this is a group that finds values aligned professionals and businesses and nonprofits, employee owned businesses as well, and provides resources, advocacy, functions. It's a extremely tight group and it's growing constantly. So every time we go there, every time I go to an event, I'm meeting new people and knowing people that I've known for 10, 11 years now. And there's resources, there's workshops, what we call hackathons on how do you how do you raise your impact. So there are even these low cost ways to start working on finding best practices, and then also to meet consultants that could help you if you want to take it a step further.
Hmm.
So I would encourage anyone here to look to their local B local, their regional B local, the letter B.
Got it. So there are communities out there to kind of guide you through this process, or be a sounding board and have those conversations. That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna open the floor here for any questions, any thoughts, anybody's struggling or have any great success stories about infusing value and making sure that you're infusing value into what you do and living those purpose-driven values. Does anybody have anything that they want to share?
By the way, I see that Greg and I go back to, and we have a lot of align, like kind of, very similar roots in travel insurance. But he also just wrote, Greg, you just wrote a comment in there about the sustainability cohort workshop that you use at the B Corp assessment. Yeah, awesome. That's kind of like that in a way, hackathon, really good baseline or foundation to set.
Yeah, I did. And I think it just underscores the point that you made that whether somebody wants to be a B Corp or not, the exercise of doing the assessment is so valuable because, first of all, it forces you to engage others in your organization and bring together people to create that baseline, develop those metrics that you then, use to establish a baseline for improvement. Because B Corp, the renewal each year, and you can talk about that a little bit, Aaron, is really based on improvement from your baseline. It's not, how high your score is, but it's really based on how much you've improved year over year. And that can be challenging for organizations that have gone through mergers and acquisitions and such. So, it's very complex, but what we found through the cohort exercise is that just doing the exercise was so valuable to them. And for many of them, it inspired them to actually become B Corps.
Yeah.
Mhm. And one plug that I put in there, I think one of the things that came out of that sustainability workshop as well that Greg just referenced is that there was kind of a sample sustainability framework that was developed. It is the audience is designed a little bit toward it's designed for tour operators. But I think there's a lot of value in it of that everybody could pick up from, whether it's destinations, whether it's suppliers. There's enough in there that there's some that it could be relevant for everybody. That framework is actually in the member resource hub. A lot of the resources are publicly available, but that framework is one of the member benefits for you all to take a look at to kind of it's a big one, but it gives a lot of really good a lot of good really good guidelines in there too. So please do check that out.
And there are alternatives, it's there, it's not absolutely, and I can't speak for any of these organizations, but in my experience, I know there are alternatives and you can do one or many. Some companies just don't want to become a sort of have taken another certification. There's a really awesome organization called Benefit Corporations for Good. Um, you can look into that for registered benefit corps. Uh, like I said, I know very many impact consultants, business impact consultants that can provide frameworks and guidelines to help your company kind of take first steps and best practices.
Mhm.
And we're
Awesome.
always looking to improve. I mean, obviously we're in the travel sphere, but we're in the insurance industry, and we want to be able to hold ourselves accountable, but also to kind of balance between our customers, our partners, and the insurance carriers, and help lift everyone up. We believe that insurance, at its root, uh, is designed to put as many people as possible into a pool to keep us all afloat and lift the tide. It's really that rising tide that lifts all ships and lifts more ships.
Mhm.
Part of that is just knowing that and being humble enough and reflective enough to look for feedback, look for guidance, even from our customers. So, and from our partners. So we're always looking for new ways and to improve what we do. And I believe that speaks to our values.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we always talk about is that this whole thing is a journey. It is there is no finish line. There is no, oh, we've made it. It really is, we get as long as we continue to get better and we continue to improve and we have that desire to continue to improve. I think that's positive thing for our world. So Thank you so much, Erin. Really appreciate your kind of insight, this case study into one particular business infusing value. And I think that's, it's a lesson for all of us to think about, okay, this is how they did it. Now, what does that mean for us? What is that action we can take? So thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie. And thank you all. If any of you want to talk about this, I'm open. If you want to talk about our Wonderwell affiliate program, I'm open to that. I can share a link, or I can, if you want to send out something afterwards, Carrie, you can put that in there.
Yeah, that'd be great. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So we'll wrap it up here. But I'll leave you with this. So we talk about a lot about making travel a powerful force for good, right? But it's not something that Tourism Cares can do by itself. It's something that all of us come together to do. Our community comes together to do, and we make those connections and have those relationships. So we are the people who tell the stories. We are the people who build the experiences, and it's up to us to make sure that what we're building it invests in the community. So that's why this community matters. So thank you so much for being a part of Tourism Cares, for being part of this community, for really be having that driving interest of moving us forward. So we appreciate you all investing your time, your ideas, and for continuing to push this work forward. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we know that we will look forward to the time when our paths cross again. Thanks, everyone.